A big thank you to MPB for sponsoring today's video.
I'm waiting for you to do the intro, or do you want me to do it?
I thought you were going to do it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, welcome back to Framelines. We thought last week's video where we talked about motivation in street photography was quite good, so we're going to do a couple more of these where we just chat about different topics and maybe try and be a bit more upbeat about this, which should be easy because we're talking about photos that we love. So yeah, that's what this video is going to be about. We're both going to talk about maybe 5 or 6 photos that we really like and talk about elements in the pictures and maybe the history behind them, about what we like about those photos. Yeah, so you've picked your 5 from which photographers?
So I picked photos from Daniel Arnold, Melissa O'Shaughnessy, Martin Parr, Garry Winogrand, and Martha Cooper. These are 5 photos that have just really inspired me, really influenced me over the years. And looking at them is super motivating. And I also have maybe some personal reasons as to why I like these particular photos as well. Who are you? Whose photos are you going to talk about?
I've got some photos by Gordon Parks, Burt Glinn, Lewis Faurer, John Simmons, and Garry Winogrand. I think we've both got Garry Winogrand. Oh no.
Oh no. I mean, I've talked about this on the channel a lot before, I guess, how much I love shooting at 28mm. I think it's just a great lens for shooting street, for documenting life. This photo in particular, I love that there's that couple on the left looking at the map, and then we've got the couple on the right coming out of the shot. But it's just that playful element of Garry himself framed in the middle of the shot. And if you've ever watched like footage of Garry on the street, he had this weird kind of like way of disguising himself taking a photograph, where he would like kind of like rest under his chin and like fumble around with it, and then you can kind of almost see
the camera.
Yeah, you can kind of like see him doing that in that mirror, I think, which I really love. I like the idea that he's sort of like maybe after he's taken this shot, he's then pretended to be like looking at himself in the mirror, or just like pretending to look down the street. Yeah, I like that it just draws your whole eye into the frame. It's a moment in time. It's very of its time. The clothes, the fact that people are looking at a map, people coming out of the store holding brown bags of food, and yeah, I just I really love this photo. Draws your eye in. I like the playful element of Garry in the frame. Yeah, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I love this one. It's like a self-portrait.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because if I was to approach that scene, I'd see the couple with the map on the left and probably just frame them, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think to maybe just frame them and me in the mirror, but to try and get so much into it, I wonder how much like he worked this scene, as they say, just to have the couple on the left, him in the middle, and then wait for people to walk out on the right.
Yeah, I mean, also, gotta love that everyone's feet are in the frame. Always love that. I think it just frames it all quite nicely. It's quite satisfying, including his own feet, you know, like
Yeah.
he would have probably had to he would have had to thought about how he positioned himself to get his full body in that mirror. Definitely. So yeah, maybe, I mean, you think that couple might have been there for a little bit, you know, looking at the map. So he's probably maybe worked a few angles, maybe waited for a bit, waited for some people to come out.
Yeah, he probably shot like 2 or 3 rolls on this couple.
Yeah. Yeah. What about your Garry Winogrand shot?
My one's a bit morbid.
Classic Shane.
But it's an incredible shot. So I was just going through this Garry Winogrand book that I have, which is a huge... have you got this one?
I actually don't. That's like the main one on Amazon that you can get, isn't it? For like a reasonable price.
Yeah, it's a pretty cheap one, but it's there's so much in it that it's a pretty good reference if you're just looking for, like, if you just want to see his photos and you can't afford any of his books because some of them are super expensive. It's a pretty good one to get, I think. But this photo I thought was incredible. Really stopped me in my tracks when I saw it.
Mm.
It's a bit grim. It's some kind of like, I guess maybe a traffic accident or something definitely happened. But just the framing and the human moment of this whole scene where there's so many faces in the frame, but if you look at it, at each corner, there's almost something happening. Mm-hmm. You know, you got the feet in one corner, you got blood in one corner, the young boy in one corner, and then all the faces. To have the skill to frame it like this is just unimaginable. It's incredible. I was just looking at this Winogrand book because I got a 28mm lens to try, which I've already gotten rid of again because I just give up after a while. I think isn't it? Because you shot 28mm for a while, right? You like 28mm.
Over the summer months. I struggle with it in the winter.
It's really, really wide and really hard to control. And to be able to fill a frame like this and to have so much precision with it, I think is incredible. Like on a technical level, this photo is incredible, but like on an emotional level as well, like everything that's going on here is really sort of overwhelming. It's just, I think it's an incredible photo.
I think if you looked at this without knowing, you'd maybe think it was a Ouija photo.
Yeah, you could. It also reminds me of that Louis Faurer photo. I think you were gonna say that. You know, the one of the kid. It's actually like a double exposure.
Yes, but
it's of a traffic accident as well, and it's a young boy sort of witnessing this traffic accident.
I guess since we're on Garry Winogrand, New York 28mm, I also picked a photograph by Daniel Arnold. I really love. I mean, he's obviously incredibly well known for like street photography in New York, but I really love his photographs in green spaces in New York. Daniel Arnold is probably one of the main reasons I actually got into street photography after visiting New York in around 2015, 2016. And on top of his photos, like even just being able to listen to him talk about street photography, like sometimes he does live things on Instagram and stuff, or when he's written about it as well, or podcasts, it's just like his whole attitude towards it, I think, is one of the best out there, I'd say, on top of his photos as well. And this picture I really love because it's like, yeah, it's in a green space in New York, something's going on, you don't know what, but the way he's framed it with this, like, these kids' feet all the way around the edge of the frame, climbing the tree, and this kid's just like turned to his camera, just looking straight down the lens. It's just a beautiful image. Like, it's just, I mean, it's maybe a bit different to some of his normal stuff. It's maybe a bit more, I think it's less loose in that way, in the way he's framed it. It seems more controlled in that sense. What do you think? Yeah,
like it could be, you know, like a National Geographic photo, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's very formal, very painterly in its composition.
But yeah, I was just looking for some photos of his, and obviously there's so many to choose from, and this one just really stood out to me. I thought it'd be quite interesting to talk about because he does take a lot of photos in like Central Park or like green spaces like Washington Square Park, and I think I do prefer those in a way. They are.
There's an energy to them, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because it's just fun when you're photographing big crowds of people. And like when you've got a really wide lens and you know that you're in a crowd of people and you can get as close to them as possible and they're not going to challenge you, they sort of expect to be photographed. I think sometimes that can come across in the photos, that sort of energy.
Yeah, and then like I found personally it's almost like skirting around the edge of those crowds is normally where there's good potential, you know, or like people like this maybe looking the wrong way or reacting to what's going on. I think that's where there is potential for a great photo like this to come together, I think. What have you got next, Shane Taylor?
What have I got next? I guess speaking of wide angle, I found this one by Burt Glinn. And I sent this to you earlier on WhatsApp and your response was, whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa. Yeah, this is an incredible shot, isn't it? This is the kind of thing that, you know, I wish I could do on 28mm, but I'm just not built for it. It's super wide. It's probably even like 24mm or something. but the composition on this is just nailed. Just nailed it. I think Burt Glinn is someone who... He's someone I would think of when I think of really great composition. I think of people like Larry Fink and Henri Cartier-Bresson. And I think Burt Glinn as well is someone who just always has like the perfect composition of whatever scene he finds.
You know, when I first saw this, I thought this was like from a contact sheet and they annotated it to show the composition.
Like chalk marks.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Or that grease pencil.
Yeah. So since we're pretty New York heavy, aren't we? I hadn't really thought about that. So this photo by Melissa O'Shaughnessy. I've always been a huge, really huge fan of her street photography. And this one, when I saw it in her book, it just really stood out to me. Like, it's kind of funny, kind of sad. And I just I found myself making up a story for this guy. Like, did his wife make him wear that before he went to work? Or like, has he gone to work and his colleagues are like, happy birthday, you got to wear the button? Or like, yeah, and just the fact he looks pretty sad just like punctuates it. Like, he could be like with a grin on his face and he'd be like, oh yeah, kind of creepy, but maybe the fact he just looks a bit downtrodden. Yeah, it's not like it's just a single subject in the middle of the frame, so it's like there's a lot riding on him to make the photo, and I think it just really does. You know, like I am a sucker for a photo with some humor. You know,
it'd be easy to miss the humor in this. You can imagine posting this on Instagram, and you just wouldn't be able to read the text on the button, and you just think, oh, it's just a photo of a guy, because the humor hinges on such a small part of the frame.
Completely. And there are like one-liner photographs where the joke is like really obvious, but like I say, over here you find yourself just wondering, like, did he buy that for himself, or did someone make him wear it, or is he at work, or is he... It's like, almost looks like he went to work, people forgot it was his birthday, and then he went out on his lunch break and bought that. I don't know.
I love that you're inventing this sort of backstory for this poor guy.
Yeah, I don't know, that's bad, but it's just I wouldn't if it wasn't for his expression, you know. And
yeah,
slightly novelty tie as it is. Yeah, I love this photo.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, this one by Gordon Parks. I've got two by Gordon Parks. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so this one, Junebug by Gordon Parks, is... I guess I'm kind of cheating with this because it's not street photography. It's documentary photography that he shot for, I think, Life magazine. This is 1963. But what I really like about this image, and what I kind of realized when I saw it, was you could tell that Gordon Parks had this cinematographer's eye, because this looks like it could be a still from like a Terrence Malick movie, or like do you know Lynne Ramsay, Scottish director? She shot a movie called Ratcatcher. She directed a movie called Ratcatcher, but it's very like this sort of imagery where it seems like a really intimate moment amongst nature. Terrence Malick does that a lot. This photo was actually used in I think a Kendrick Lamar music video where they recreated the whole scene. And you know, we might play a clip of that just over this, but can you imagine even getting a photo like this? It's so stunning.
I've just been looking at it, like, so he's tied a little string to a bug.
Yeah,
right.
To Junebug's leg. Yeah. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about this and talk about the I guess the concept of like being cinematic in street photography, which is something that, you know, you hear sort of bandied around a lot, and it's not anything to do with the grading applied to your photos. It's more to do with just a sort of visual language which Gordon Parks invented parts of. Like, I haven't seen anything like this.
the visual language, and then it's like having that mood in the entire image. So this is like so serene, isn't it? It's very calming to even look at this photograph. Like you could, pan out to like a wider shot of him lying in the grass, and it's you can hear this photo as well. You can hear bugs, like and then birds, and maybe some wind as well. Like it's that's what, like it's not like a photograph that looks like The Matrix isn't cinematic. It's just got a heavy-handed edit on it. Like this is
exactly like you can imagine what happens next in this photo. You almost can't help but imagine what happens next. You can imagine the bug crawling, and like you said, the environmental sounds and everything. And the same with this photo, the handcuffs photo, which is incredible. This is from he did a series on crime. I think this is like 1957. But again, this is just one of these images where you can almost imagine it continuing after this image where the couple walk towards the police. It's just a stunning, like incredible example of a visual language that Gordon Parks had that has been so influential since then. Like how many photographers, how many cinematographers, how many directors have seen these photos and have used that sort of language in movies? I'm sure Terrence Malick saw this at a very young age and just said, yep, that's my thing from here on.
Yeah, I mean, instantly you're like, that's a still from a film. Like it must be, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Just jumping in for a moment to thank our sponsor for today's video, MPB. Shane and I have both been using MPB for a number of years. Whenever we want to buy or sell or chop and change any of our camera gear, we go straight to MPB. The service is so quick and efficient. They have a fantastic grading system for checking the condition of the kit you're buying. We can't recommend them enough. If you want to get a quote for some of your old gear or change your camera system, please visit mpb.com. Linking on from, like you said, about documentary, I've included a shot from Martin Parr, which he shot in Margate in 1986.
I love this one.
I think I saw this for the first time at Photo London last year. So I've been pretty obsessed with Martin Parr's photographs since I was 16 when I did a project on him at school. And I'd never seen this one, and I saw it printed up at Photo London and was like, wow, that's one of my favorites. I mean, I just love what's it like, the velour seat she's in with the frills, and like on the table there's like a rock and then a bottle of pills. And then it's like I would say this is a documentary photograph. It's obviously like candid, but this is just like a Margate in the 80s. This is what it looks like. I love it. I love the colors. I love the outfit. I love the random stuff on the table, the rock on the table, presumably to stop stuff blowing away because there's like windbreakers everywhere. It looks like she's on the beach, but it might not even be that nice to be on the beach, like because there's so much stuff like shielding her from the elements, like a headscarf. You know,
she's brought a cup and a saucer.
A cup and a saucer and some sort of portable armchair. And
you don't want to spill your tea on the beach and make a big mess. This is a very this is sort of your aesthetic, isn't it? The sort of 60s or 70s florals and the color. It's interesting that you saw this for the first time in Photo London as a huge print. Yeah,
and then really I had to just go home and seek it out basically, and love this one. I just think it's so British. Love the colors. Love the slight randomness of the things on the table, and then just my kind of photo. You know. What about you? You got another one? You got another one to talk about?
I do. I have. What else have I got? Yeah, I've got this photo by Louis Faurer, who is one of my favorites of all the street photographers, if you had to pick a favorite. But you know, when you just like connect, like with you and Martin Parr, when I saw this guy's photos for the first time, I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. Yeah. So this is Penn Station Lovers, 1946 to 47 by Louis Faurer. And it's an image of this couple in Penn Station. And it's I think it's quite mysterious and invites you to make up fiction about them. Like what exactly is happening here? Like, is he consoling her? Is he intimidating her? It's really hard to tell. It's shot in low light. It's very shallow. It looks like it was wide open. It's very soft, sort of dreamy, but there's enough in it to give you a sense of time and place. You've got that, see the escalator on the right? It's like a Art Deco chrome escalator. Just gives you a sense of place. Like Penn Station at the time was incredible. I think this was before they tore down Penn Station. So it was all this like beautiful architecture and Art Deco treatments. But yeah, just the framing on this, and there's something about this. Like, if I could pick one photo that I come back to and gives me a reason for taking photos the way I take photos, it's probably this photo. I think about it all the time, and I think about just being able to capture this sort of intimacy in a way where it just seems like, as you look at the photo, you could be in the photographer's shoes. It's like you're just glancing at this thing happening, and it's so authentic, and it's not like, it's a moment of intimacy, but it's not contrived. It's not like a Hallmark type two lovers photo. There's lots of questions around it. There's so many little touches, like the gesture of her foot, the way she's sort of lifting her ankle, and his hand on her shoulder.
It's like like you've got the line of the lockers straight down to her foot, like really like pinpointing that. So you've got the line on the floor and then the line of the lockers, like really like nailing down her heel as like draws your eye into there. And then it's like framed by just these halves of two men in hats, isn't it, on either side? I have one more photo to talk about, which I've just realized is another one from New York. This was taken by Martha Cooper. It's part of her street play series and book, which I think you touched on in another video when you talk about Everybody Street. Something I've always loved about street photography is that element of it also documenting a certain place at a certain time. Martha Cooper's street play series was taken on the Lower East Side in New York in the late 1970s when it was derelict. Essentially, she would travel there after work and take photos of the kids just playing in the street. Obviously, it just isn't something that really happens anymore. Particularly the Lower East Side of New York is just massively like gentrified now. I just really love this shot. Like, you've got the like completely derelict building behind it, almost like mirrors the kind of geometry of the chain link fence at the front, and then just all the kids climbing on it. It's just like, it's just something you would just never see today, isn't it? Like, and I think it's just beautifully framed. It's an incredible like moment in time. It's so dynamic, and just like taking it from a slightly lower angle just to really frame the kids at the top as well, and the ones like in between the building. I just love this photo. Like you said about that Louis Faurer one, it's just one I can just come back to over and over again. But yeah, we've done a real kind of history of New York street photography today, haven't we?
This is yeah, I love this photo. It's like they're climbing the buildings, you know, like climbing out of that wasteland.
What about you? Have you got one last one?
Yep. I have this one by John Simmons. Another New York photo. Have you seen this one before?
I have, but only because you've shown it to me.
Yeah. This is called Love on a Bus, 1967. Oh, it was Chicago. Okay, so it wasn't New York.
There we go.
John Simmons. Yeah, so John Simmons was a stills photographer, documentary photographer, street photographer, who then became an Emmy award-winning cinematographer. And I often wonder about these people who ended up like directing movies in later life, like Gordon Parks, you know, like they just had this sort of cinematic language like ingrained in them that came through whether they were making photos or making movies. And this is this is just it almost looks staged, but it's not. Yeah, no, I just love this photo because it's something that I really love in street photography, is focusing on that human perspective. So it's that thing where the photo looks like it's taken from a very natural point of view. It's not like, I think that Burt Glinn photo that I talked about earlier is the exact opposite, where that's not a natural point of view from a human being. That's 24mm shot from a bug's point of view or something, you know. It's whereas this is very definitely a humanistic portrayal of what it was like in 1967 to be alive. And that's something that fascinates me about street photography. If I have a goal, it's just to do that. So with all the photos we picked here, they've sort of inspired us to get out there and to take street photos in a certain way. So if you have any, like, we'd just love to see them. Maybe you could link to them in the comments or post them on Instagram and include a hashtag or tag us on Twitter.
Thank you for watching. Please do check out Framelines magazine and see you next time. Bye.